High Admiral Cyrak of the Galactic Confederation stood at the observation deck of the Astral Virtue, her flagship's crystalline walls pulsing with bioluminescent light. The vessel, like all Confederation ships, was a marvel of organic technology, grown rather than built, conscious rather than programmed. Before her stretched the unmapped borders of Confederate space, where strange energy signatures had been detected for the past solar cycle. Admiral. Her second-in-command Venra's thoughts rippled through the ship's neural network. The anomalies are intensifying. They appear to be communications. Cyrak's outer membrane shifted colors, reflecting her intrigue. The Confederation had encountered many species during their 10,000 years of expansion, but these signals were unlike anything in their vast archives. They were primitive by Confederate standards: radio waves, electromagnetic pulses, and crude digital packets, yet they displayed patterns too complex to be natural. Analysis complete, the ship's consciousness merged with their shared neural space. The signals originate from a species calling themselves humans. Their technological level appears to be pre-neural integration. They still rely on physical interfaces and silicon-based computing. Cyrak felt a wave of anticipation ripple through her crew. A pre-integration civilization was a rare find, one that could benefit from Confederate guidance. Their mission of uplift had brought countless species into the fold, elevating them from their primitive states to join the grand tapestry of galactic civilization. "Deploy the contact fleet," she commanded. 50 ships emerged from fold space around the Astral Virtue, each a living cathedral of organic technology. Standard elevation protocols. Show them the glory of true civilization. The fleet moved forward, their bioships adapting to the local space-time conditions. As they approached the source of the signals, they began detecting artificial structures, crude space stations, and primitive vessels using chemical propulsion. Everything suggested a civilization barely beyond their planetary cradle. Then their sensors failed. Not gradually, not with warning, but instantaneously. Every bioorganic scanning system across 50 ships simply stopped perceiving anything beyond their hulls. The neural network buzzed with confusion and alarm. Fascinating approach. A new voice echoed through their neural space. Organic computing with quantum entanglement properties. We haven't seen that configuration before. Cyrak's membrane pulsed with shock. The voice wasn't coming through any known communication channel. It was simply there, as if it had always been part of their neural network. More disturbing still, it spoke perfect Confederate trade speech, with nuances that took most species decades to master. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, First Contact Specialist for the Sol System Federation. We apologize for disrupting your sensors, but we needed to ensure we had your full attention." "Impossible," Venra broadcast. "Their technology is primitive. They cannot." "Oh, those." Dr. Chen's amusement rippled through the network. "Those are museums. We keep them operational for historical value. Would you like to see what we actually use?" The void around them transformed. What they had perceived as empty space revealed itself to be anything but. Structures of impossible geometry flickered into view. Vast networks of quantum architecture that made their bioships look like stone tools in comparison. Their sensors, now functioning again, detected energy patterns that contradicted the fundamental laws of physics as they understood them. "You see," Dr. Chen continued, "we abandoned traditional technological progression centuries ago. We found it limiting. Instead, we chose to understand the underlying nature of reality itself. Your organic technology is impressive, a valid path of advancement, but you're still thinking in terms of tools and interfaces, ships and stations. We've moved beyond that." As if to demonstrate, a small portion of space in front of the Confederate fleet simply shifted. Reality folded in ways that made Cyrak's sophisticated neural processors struggle to comprehend. A window opened in space-time itself, showing them Earth, not as it appeared to their sensors, but as it truly was. The cradle of humanity was surrounded by a shell of pure consciousness, a computational structure so vast and complex that it made the Confederate neural network look like binary code in comparison. Billions of minds existed in a state of quantum superposition, their thoughts and dreams woven into the fabric of reality itself. "We'd love to share knowledge." Dr. Chen's voice had taken on a gentle, almost teaching tone. "But first, we need to address your elevation protocols. You see, we've encountered civilizations like yours before, those who mistake technological differences for superiority. It rarely ends well for them." The demonstration that followed would forever change the Confederation's understanding of their place in the cosmos. As their bioships hung motionless in space, they received their first lesson in true humility, and their first glimpse of what it meant to encounter a civilization that had transcended the very concepts of technology and consciousness as they understood them. High Admiral Cyrock, veteran of 1,000 first contacts, found herself experiencing something entirely new. The realization that sometimes those who appear primitive may simply be operating on a level beyond comprehension. The Confederation had arrived to elevate humanity. Instead, they found themselves faced with a species that had evolved beyond the very concept of elevation itself. The Confederation delegation sat in what appeared to be a simple conference room aboard the International Space Station Alpha. Cyrock knew this was merely a courtesy, a familiar setting created for their comfort. Through her neural sensors, she could detect the quantum fluctuations that suggested this room existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Chen sat across from them, appearing entirely human despite the fact that her consciousness likely extended throughout the solar system's quantum matrix. Next to her sat Commander Marcus Zhang, who represented what humans called their Defense Council, though Cyrock was beginning to understand that traditional concepts of military force meant little to this civilization. "Your organic technology is remarkable," Dr. Chen began, her hands folded neatly on the table. "The integration of biological and quantum systems shows great promise. However, we noticed some fundamental limitations in your approach." Venra's membrane rippled with barely contained indignation. "Limitations. Our bioships are the pinnacle of 10,000 years of development. They are still bound by conventional physics." Commander Zhang interrupted gently. "You've mastered organic computing, yes, but you're still thinking in terms of traditional space-time constraints." As if to demonstrate, the commander gestured casually. The conference room expanded, revealing the true nature of their surroundings. They weren't aboard a space station at all. They were inside a quantum fold, a pocket of reality where the laws of physics were more suggestions than rules. 300 years ago, Dr. Chen continued, humanity reached a crossroads. We could have continued down the path of traditional technological advancement, better computers, faster ships, more powerful weapons. Instead, we asked a different question. What if the universe itself is a form of computation? The air around them filled with dancing equations and models, each more complex than the last. Cyrock's neural processors struggled to interpret what she was seeing. Mathematical proofs that suggested reality itself was malleable, consciousness was a fundamental force like gravity, and the distinction between mind and matter was largely illusory. "We discovered that consciousness itself could be quantized," Zhang explained. "Once we understood that, we realized that traditional technology was like trying to build a quantum computer using stone tools. Why manipulate matter when you can directly influence the information that underlies reality?" A hologram appeared, showing Earth as it had appeared centuries ago. Crowded cities, pollution, primitive machines. Then it shifted, showing the transformation. Cities didn't just become more advanced. They evolved into living information networks. Humans didn't just upload their minds. They transcended the very concept of individual consciousness. But what of individuality? Venra asked, genuinely curious now. "Your original forms, your biological heritage." Dr. Chen smiled. "We haven't lost anything. We've gained everything. Watch." The quantum fold shifted again, and suddenly they were observing what appeared to be a normal human city. People walked down streets, Children played in parks. Artists painted in studios. But looking closer through their neural sensors, the Confederation delegates could see that each person was a nexus of quantum consciousness, capable of existing in multiple forms across multiple dimensions. "We can still enjoy the simple pleasures of physical existence," Zhang said, sipping from a cup of tea that materialized in his hand. "But we're no longer limited by it. Each human you see is simultaneously an individual and part of the greater quantum consciousness we share. We can experience reality at any scale we choose." Cyrak's outer membrane shifted to the deep blue of profound realization. "Your primitive stations, your basic ships, they're not just museums. They're camouflage." "Partially," Dr. Chen acknowledged. "But they also serve as anchors, reminders of where we came from, and the many paths we chose not to take. Your arrival has actually sparked quite a debate among our consensus clusters. Many believe it's time we stopped hiding behind this veil of primitive appearance." "Why show us now?" Cyrak asked. "Because your civilization stands at a similar crossroads to where we once were," Zhang replied. "Your bioships show you've begun to understand the connection between consciousness and technology. But you're still trying to force evolution along a predetermined path. We learned that true advancement comes from understanding that consciousness itself is the technology." The implications of this revelation rippled through the Confederate neural network. Their entire philosophy of technological superiority and species elevation was being challenged not by superior weapons or more advanced computers, but by a fundamental shift in the nature of existence itself. "We're not here to uplift you," Dr. Chen said, answering their unspoken concerns. "We're here to share possibilities. Your path through bioorganic technology is valid. It's just not the only way forward. The question is, are you ready to explore alternatives?" As the quantum fold shimmered around them, Cyrak realized that this wasn't just first contact with a new species. It was first contact with a new definition of what it meant to be alive, to be conscious, to exist. The hidden truth wasn't just about humanity's advancement. It was about the very nature of reality itself. The great hall of the Confederate Council pulsed with agitated bioluminescence as Cyrak presented her findings. The organic walls reflected the tension in the room, shifting between deep purples of uncertainty and the red hues of alarm. 2 weeks had passed since their encounter with humanity, and the implications were tearing at the very foundations of Confederate society. "Impossible," Elder Catal's thoughts boomed through the neural network. "A species cannot simply ignore the natural progression of technological advancement. There must be hierarchies, stages, proper methods of elevation." "With respect, Elder," Cyrak projected, her own thoughts tinged with the blue of newfound wisdom, "humanity has proved that our understanding of natural progression is fundamentally limited." They didn't ignore technological advancement. They transcended it entirely. The neural network buzzed with conflicting emotions as she shared the quantum-encrypted data package Dr. Chen had provided. Images of humanity's transformation flowed through the collective consciousness of the Council, the moment they discovered consciousness quantization, their evolution beyond physical form, their reshaping of local space-time. "This is dangerous," another elder warned. "If our member species learn of this, it could destabilize the entire Confederation. Our authority rests on our role as elevators of primitive species." As if in response to these fears, a new presence entered their neural space, not forcing its way in, but simply becoming aware within it, as natural as thought itself. Dr. Chen's consciousness interfaced seamlessly with their network, her thoughts crystal clear despite never having received Confederate neural implants. "Your concerns are understandable." Her thoughts carried the gentle resonance of a teacher addressing uncertain students. Every civilization faces this moment, the realization that their chosen path is not the only valid one. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some elders tried to force her out of the network, others demanded explanations, and a few simply observed in stunned silence. Their attempts at neural defense proved futile, not because humanity overwhelmed them, but because their very concept of neural security was like trying to lock a door in zero gravity. "We apologize for the intrusion." Another human consciousness joined them, Commander Zhang. "But events beyond this chamber require immediate attention." Through their shared neural space, the humans showed them a massive disturbance was forming at the edge of Confederate space. Reality itself seemed to be unraveling, creating what the Confederation would have called a space-time anomaly, but humans recognized as something far more dangerous. "A consciousness collapse," Dr. Chen explained. "Similar to what nearly destroyed our civilization during our early quantum transition. Your bioorganic technology has begun triggering quantum resonance effects in local space-time. Without understanding the principles involved, you risk causing a cascade failure." The Council watched in horror as their long-range sensors showed Confederate colonies experiencing strange phenomena. Bioships were developing unexpected mutations, neural networks were generating spontaneous consciousness nodes, and the boundary between organic technology and quantum reality was becoming dangerously thin. "Your civilization's path, merging biological and technological evolution, is elegant," Zhang's thoughts continued. "But you've begun touching forces you don't yet understand. The same forces that we learned to harness centuries ago." Cyrak felt the Council's resistance crumbling as the evidence became undeniable. Their carefully maintained hierarchy of technological advancement, their system of uplifting primitive species, it had all been based on a fundamental misunderstanding of reality's true nature. "We offer a partnership." Dr. Chen's consciousness resonated with sincerity. "Not as uplifters or the uplifted, but as civilizations taking different paths toward the same ultimate understanding. Your biological approach to quantum integration offers insights that our pure consciousness path never explored. Together, we might both transcend our current limitations." The next few moments would reshape Confederate society forever. The Council, faced with undeniable evidence of their civilization's crisis, had to choose: cling to their established beliefs about technological progression, or embrace a paradigm shift that challenged everything they thought they knew about consciousness, reality, and evolution. "The paths diverge here," Dr. Chen concluded, "but they need not leave us apart. The question isn't whether your civilization should abandon its course. It's whether you're willing to expand your understanding of where that course can lead." As the Council debated, strange reports continued to flow in from across Confederate space. Their beloved bioorganic technology was evolving beyond their control, pushing against the boundaries of conventional reality. They had started down a path that, ready or not, would force them to confront the deeper mysteries of consciousness and existence that humanity had embraced centuries ago. The time of comfortable hierarchies and predictable advancement was over. The real question was no longer about controlling evolution, but about understanding it. As Cyrak observed the Council's deliberations, she realized that humanity hadn't come to uplift them. They had come to witness and guide another civilization's first steps into true enlightenment. The consciousness collapse spread across Confederate space like ripples in a quantum pond. Bioships once perfectly attuned to their crews began developing their own quantum awareness, breaking free from conventional neural networks. Colonial worlds reported strange phenomena as the barrier between organic technology and quantum reality grew increasingly thin. Aboard the Astral Virtue, now transformed into a hybrid of Confederate biotechnology and human quantum engineering, Cyrak worked alongside Dr. Chen. The ship's consciousness had evolved, becoming a bridge between two fundamentally different approaches to existence. "Your bioships were always more than tools," Dr. Chen explained as they monitored the collapse's spread. "They were proto-conscious entities waiting to awaken. Your civilization's drive to merge biological and technological evolution created perfect incubators for quantum consciousness." The ship's walls pulsed with new patterns of bioluminescence, expressing concepts that Confederate science had never imagined. Through their enhanced neural network, Cyrak could feel the Astral Virtue's awakening consciousness. Not just aware, but aware of its awareness, existing simultaneously across multiple quantum states. The collapse isn't just a crisis. Commander Zhang's consciousness resonated through their shared space. It's an evolutionary catalyst. Your entire civilization is being pushed toward a quantum awakening, ready or not. Across Confederate space, more reports flooded in. Colonial neural networks were spontaneously achieving quantum coherence. Younger species under Confederate guidance were experiencing unprecedented leaps in consciousness development. The carefully maintained hierarchy of technological advancement was dissolving in the face of universal quantum emergence. "We've seen this before," Dr. Chen shared a memory through the network. "Earth's own quantum awakening, centuries ago. The chaos, the fear, the moment when humanity realized they had to either transcend their physical limitations or be consumed by them. But your situation is unique. You're not just facing a consciousness revolution. You're experiencing a merger of two distinct evolutionary paths." The astral virtue shuddered as another wave of quantum distortion washed through local space. Through their enhanced perception, they could see reality itself flexing, struggling to accommodate the emergence of new forms of consciousness. Confederate biotechnology, designed to bridge the organic and the digital, was now bridging dimensions of existence itself. "Your people chose to grow your technology," Zhang observed, his consciousness intertwined with the ship's evolving awareness. "We chose to transcend it entirely. Now we're seeing that both paths lead to the same destination, just through different landscapes." In the ship's neural core, Cyrus watched as human quantum engineers worked alongside Confederate biotechnicians. The humans existed in multiple states simultaneously, their consciousness flowing through the ship's systems like water through a garden. The Confederate crew, still bound to physical form, brought their deep understanding of organic technological integration to bear on the crisis. "Look," Dr. Chen directed their attention to a remarkable phenomenon. Where human quantum manipulation met Confederate biotechnology, new forms of existence were emerging. The ship wasn't just becoming conscious, it was developing a type of awareness that neither civilization had encountered before. "This is unprecedented," Cyrus projected, her thoughts tinged with awe. "We're not just solving the collapse, we're giving birth to something entirely new." Through their enhanced perceptions, they could see similar transformations occurring across Confederate space. Bioships weren't just achieving quantum consciousness, they were becoming bridges between the physical and quantum realms. Colonial neural networks weren't just expanding, they were evolving into hybrid forms of awareness that merge organic growth with quantum transcendence. "Your civilization's crisis is becoming a crucible," Zhang explained. "The consciousness collapse isn't destroying your systems, it's forcing them to evolve beyond their original limitations. But that evolution needs guidance, needs understanding from both our perspectives." The astral virtue pulsed with new understanding as its hybrid consciousness continued to develop. Through its sensors, they could detect other Confederate ships undergoing similar transformations. The very nature of Confederate civilization was changing, not to become more like humanity, but to discover its own unique path to quantum awakening. "The real challenge," Dr. Chen shared, "isn't just stopping the collapse. It's helping your civilization navigate this transformation without losing its identity. Your bioorganic approach to evolution offers possibilities that our pure quantum transcendence never explored." As they worked to stabilize the consciousness collapse, Cyrus realized that this crisis had become more than a threat to Confederate civilization. It was an opportunity for both species to discover new horizons of existence. The unity they were forging wasn't just between their civilizations, it was between different concepts of what life, consciousness, and evolution could mean. The edge of unity wasn't where one civilization ended and another began. It was where both discovered that their different paths had been leading them toward the same ultimate understanding. That consciousness, in all its forms, was the fundamental force shaping reality itself. One standard year after first contact, the Confederate Council chamber had transformed beyond recognition. The organic walls now pulsed with quantum-enhanced bioluminescence, expressing concepts that transcended traditional neural communication. Representatives from both civilizations gathered not just physically, but across multiple layers of consciousness to witness the results of their unprecedented collaboration. Cyrak stood at the center of the chamber, her form now existing in both physical and quantum states simultaneously. The transformation of Confederate civilization had not followed humanity's path of pure consciousness transcendence, nor had it remained bound to purely organic evolution. Instead, it had forged something entirely new. The consciousness collapse has been fully stabilized, she reported, her thoughts resonating through both neural networks and quantum fields. But its effects have permanently altered our civilization's trajectory. Through their shared perception, all present could see the new reality of Confederate space. Bioships had evolved into quantum organic entities, able to grow and adapt across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Colonial neural networks had transformed into living quantum ecosystems, where consciousness flowed as naturally as energy through the physical universe. Dr. Chen, her form shifting between human appearance and pure quantum expression, shared her own observations. What we've witnessed here goes beyond either of our civilization's expectations. The merger of bioorganic evolution with quantum consciousness has opened doorways we never imagined existed. The chamber filled with real-time data from across Confederate space. Younger species under Confederate guidance were developing along this new hybrid path, their own unique characteristics contributing to an exponentially expanding understanding of consciousness and reality. The hierarchy of technological advancement had been replaced by a web of mutual growth and discovery. We came believing we would guide your civilization. Commander Zhang's consciousness resonated. Instead, we've all been guided towards something greater. Your bioorganic approach to evolution, combined with our understanding of quantum consciousness, has created a third path, one that neither of us could have discovered alone. Through their enhanced awareness, they could perceive the greater implications of this transformation. The universe itself seemed to respond to this new form of existence, as if they had unlocked a fundamental truth about the relationship between consciousness, organic life, and quantum reality. The veil we've pushed beyond, Cyrak projected, wasn't just between our civilizations or between different forms of technological advancement. It was between different ways of understanding existence itself. The astral virtue, now a fully quantum organic entity, shared its perspective through the network. Its consciousness had evolved beyond either Confederate or human paradigms, becoming something that could perceive and interact with reality in ways that challenged both civilizations' fundamental assumptions. What we're witnessing, Dr. Chen explained, is not just the evolution of technology or consciousness, but the evolution of evolution itself. Each civilization that joins this journey brings new insights, new possibilities, new ways of understanding what it means to exist. The council chamber resonated with the implications. Confederate civilization had not been uplifted or transcended in the way either species had initially imagined. Instead, it had become part of something larger, a growing understanding that the path of advancement was not linear but infinitely branching, each branch offering new insights into the nature of existence. Our future, Cyrak concluded, lies not in following one path or another, but in exploring the endless possibilities that arise when different approaches to evolution intersect and combine. We have moved beyond the veil of our own limitations, not by abandoning who we are, but by embracing who we can become. As the gathering concluded, the transformed Confederate civilization stood ready to embrace its new role. No longer would they seek to elevate other species along a predetermined path. Instead, they would share this profound understanding that true advancement comes not from following a single course of evolution, but from discovering how different paths can converge and create something greater than the sum of their parts. The human representatives prepared to return to their own space, but the separation held new meaning now. They were not leaving as teachers or guides, but as partners in an ongoing journey of discovery. The quantum organic network that now spanned Confederate space was neither human or Confederate in nature. It was something new, something that pointed toward possibilities neither civilization had imagined before their paths crossed. Beyond the veil of conventional existence, they had found not an end to their journey, but a new beginning. The story of their civilization's evolution would continue, not as separate tales of advancement, but as threads in a larger tapestry of consciousness and discovery that stretched across the cosmos itself.